said that he murders the chopsticks.
Yes, he does. And yeah, this is kind of huge and
That's-
unwieldy.
That's definitely an interesting target.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that before. Yeah, it seems more like that.
What we like to say is if your target stick has bite marks, you're doing it wrong.
Okay.
So,
You've been doing it really wrong. Can you just show me a visual comparison of her stick compared to your stick? Because it's pretty amazing. Just
We all start somewhere.
we do.
I would highly encourage you when you go home to watch the target training edition we added to the family friendly parrot course.
Okay.
What I'm going for is getting him to reach, and I might have to have you guys do it if he's too afraid of me, but getting him to reach as far as he can to touch the stick.
Okay.
And by reaching far, he can only, the lower mandible doesn't move. The upper mandible and tongue can touch it. In that case, he can't bite it because the lower mandible's too far back.
Sure.
So I want to have this as far as I can. Which is not going to happen. Yeah, there's just moments.
What'd you show him?
Sunflower seeds.
Why don't you show him that nut I used? I'm
that
wondering
better?
if he actually like came down for the nut or if he was coming for my soul, but I couldn't figure it out in time. But he ate the nut I gave him. No?
Yeah, he's just. I think the fear is overriding any sort of food motivation.
So I decided to try to get Murphy to target for me, seeing if maybe he's just too fearful of Dave since he hasn't responded to him in the past, but even I don't get a response, not even trying to like offer a nut or a treat, doesn't even go for it. So we decided to switch locations. Since he is on the ground and seeming kind of vulnerable down here in his cage, we decided to move him up higher. Okay, since you're already here. Switch this.
See how she manipulated so he had to really reach? And then she's doing the same so she doesn't lose a finger. You guys want to try that?
Yeah.
Here, hold this. Hold this. Right? You don't want to make the bird feel what you just felt.
Okay.
So, if without moving your feet, put your arm out to touch this. I'm going to slowly bring you slow, meet you there.
Okay.
That's what you want to do.
Okay. Murph.
Lifted a foot.
Hi, Murphy. That's his waving hi. Hi.
So you're giving 2 cues right
Yep,
now.
I am. Yep.
So we'll
I
clean
just
that up.
realized that. Mm-hmm. I was just excited he was doing anything other than circling around and trying to kill people. I was like, yeah, we'll take the wave. It's fine.
So I think maybe coming in, I think we're gonna have to make it look easier.
Yeah.
Maybe coming over here, if you wanna like actually walk around and then offer it, of course he's gonna move to change the entire dynamic of what I just suggested. So that's cool.
You show him the treat first. Just like motivate
There
it.
we go.
It comes over. Yeah, there's not enough value in the treats right now. Let's give him a little bit of a break. He might still be just kind of heightened from.
From what?
It's like, do I even need to finish that?
So I gave you a sample of our pellets, a sample of our freeze-dried seasonal feeding system. So if you can like start to introduce that, I'd love to see him on that. So seasonal feeding in the morning, pellets in the evening, and then all those extra things that you've been giving him,
Okay.
that goes to you. And that gets to be like your $100 bills for paying him for good behavior.
Got it.
And I think that'll really even the score a little bit at home.
Okay. Okay. Hi.
Let's take the stick away for a second. Go get the treat.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not taking the treat.
Want to try pine nut or Brazil nut?
Yeah. That'd be great.
I think we have some diet and sleep homework
Yeah.
for this guy. That's going to be your foundations. Unfortunately, something that a lot of people seem to not understand that is if you don't have those foundations in place,
The other stuff doesn't work. Yeah.
yeah, the training's just not as effective.
Okay.
Do I try it again?
Which is a lot of the time why if people are like, oh, I want to diet convert, but I also want to train my bird, I'm like, just
Just do one or
throw training to the side, do diet conversion 100%, see it all the way through, make sure it's really a success, and then train, because it's going to make your training so much more successful. Whereas sometimes doing diet conversion and training at the same time, they really sabotage each other.
Yeah.
And once you're on the right, once he's on the right diet, then the value of the treat's gonna be higher without having to be hungry.
Right.
It's just if he's not getting any sort of fillers in his diet, then that same sunflower seed or nut is gonna be, instead of a 3 on the scale of likability, it'd be a 10.
Right.
But I don't think we have anything left to know.
Yeah.
Should I go through the
ABCs.
ABC real quick? 'Cause I think
Yeah,
that'll apply
I
to
think that'll be
everybody.
really
Should I try
helpful.
one more
Try
time?
to do another set of reps.
I wouldn't worry about it. It's something you guys can do at home when you're more set up to be successful with it.
You're gonna see so many changes with the diet conversion and whatnot. It's gonna be amazing. You'll be very pleased.
It's probably 80% of the battle,
Yes.
to be very honest. This chart, if you guys write this down, this is how you solve every parrot behavior problem. And it's basically, in family-friendly parrot formula, we talk about antecedent, behavior, or consequence. And we often refer to it as the cue. I might give this cue. Then the behavior is a bird waves its foot. And then the reward is a treat. And that's usually when we have a formal training session and we do it with intention. We think of cue, trick, reward. And consequence sounds like a bad, like the consequence of your actions, right? It usually sounds like a bad connotation. But for the sake of this, I'll explain it this way, because usually people have an unwanted behavior. I'll use biting as the main example. And people ask, what do I do next? Okay, so the bird bit me, now what? And you're only dealing in the consequence side of things. The problem with that is what we often see is the bird bites somebody and they're like, oh, I'm going to put you in the cage as punishment, right? And that's kind of the thought process. And what happens is the bird bites you again and goes in the cage. Well, since it's happened twice, there's now a pattern. And so the bird will understand to bite to go back in the cage because maybe it just wants some water. So whenever we're dealing in the reacting to an unwanted behavior, we usually accidentally reinforce it because the bird's figured out our patterns. So the key is you want to get ahead of it and stop right before the unwanted behavior. Like you can see him kind of cutting through the circle. The unwanted behavior is about to happen, but we avoided it. An example that we could use from today was when Trixie would bend her head down and would have bitten, I stopped right here every time. Right before that bad unwanted behavior, we need to change something. And that's the answer to what do I do when the bird bites? Or what do I do when the bird's on the floor, right? And so the answer is to stop right before that. Down here, the numbers, this just represents time. So it could be 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 week, 1 year. So every bird, when we often hear, okay, we spend 2 hours with our bird out every night. And when people have the bird out too much, what ends up happening is we're reacting to all the things in the consequence side of things. Like the bird went down and we accidentally punished it. The bird went over here, we chased it around forever, and did that make our relationship better with Murphy today? No, right? So we would have, in a perfect world, we would have stopped doing something right before he climbed down. In our home, we have a galah who she'll stay on the tree for about 4 seconds, maybe 5, and then she'll go to the ground. So where like Comet, one of our Camelot macaws, he'd stay there for like 4 or 5 days before he'd ever try to climb down or fly. So everybody's timeline is going to be different, but you really want to stop before that unwanted behavior happens. If the unwanted behavior is inevitable, I want you to think of what your next 3 actions are. And I think this is probably really going to be relevant for you guys. If you know that a bite is likely to happen, have your next 3 rewards figured out. Because as humans, we're such creatures of habit, we will unknowingly do the same pattern. And we see this, if you wrote down every time you were bitten what you did, you're probably going to find a pattern in there. Think of 3 different reactions so that the bird isn't training you. Probably what you're hoping to get out of the class. We didn't probably achieve that as far as direct progression with Murphy, but do you feel like you had some takeaways today with?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
What sort of things do you feel like you can do differently going forward to set him up for success?
Well, the diet and the sleep, kind of starting from there and trying to get him in shape for training.
And feel free to mess around with his different treats. As you're getting him out, I was looking around for like a coffee cup or I guess we could use a dish, but I want to just put a mix of things in there. So when we get the behavior we want, you can just offer the dish and let him pick what he wants.
Yep.
And that's a really good way to just kind of treat test. He might grab a few sometimes, but I'd recommend at least reassessing what his favorite treats are so that he has an opportunity to work for that.
Do preference assessments for the bird.
Yeah.